What up, though?
Not much. I was just reading about that shit that just happened in DC.
Yeah, no shit. Well, I guess for people who'll be watching this, those two guardsmen just got killed. Came out just now, confirmed 2 fatalities, and that happened about a little over an hour ago.
Yeah, they got the guy right away.
Yeah, the footage seems pretty insane. I mean, yeah, just pray for them and their soldiers and their families.
All right. Well, enough of that. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you came to be in the military and what you did?
Yeah, so I joined the Army National Guard 19, but it comes from, I guess, my motivations come from a whole lineage in the military. And when I was in high school, a good friend of mine was actually my recruiter, and he was in the company, or I guess the battalion that I ended up enlisting in. And what he said is that the unit was deploying, and I knew that in high school, that's what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to join the military, and I wanted to deploy. I thought at the time that we were going to Afghanistan just because they said that we were going to a combat zone. And, me in high school kind of didn't really have an idea of where that might be. I enlisted thinking the unit was going to Afghanistan, but I knew that we were deploying. And I was just hoping that I could make it through that 6 months of training and be back in time. And, I had quite a bit of time when we did get back. But yeah, I enlisted, graduated high school, got sent out to OSIT, knocked that out in those 6 months, and made it to the unit. Then I got the information of where we were actually going and what we were doing, and that wasn't going to happen for another about year and a half to 2 years. So from there, I guess I put so many goals in front of me that the ultimate goal was to go on that deployment. But obviously you have those goals set short term as well to meet that requirement. And when I graduated basic, I hadn't really planned anything up until that point. It was just that one goal of deploying. So when I had that massive time gap, I guess I kind of just was in like a oh shit moment. Like, you just hit adulthood, and you kind of have to take on that responsibility of living on your own and living a civilian life, kind of preparing for deployment. So I'd say that's probably where my journey started, actually, like leaving training and then working that civilian soldier lifestyle where you have to turn that switch on and off.
Tactical pause. When did you go to OSIT? What year?
So it ended up being, so I enlisted in 2019, at the end of 2019, and then COVID hit, and I graduated school early. So I ended up going to OSIT during COVID. So I got
damn.
there, and
I was like, why
yeah.
the fuck was your OSIT?
Yeah. I went to the 22 weeks. The COVID really fucked it up because there was like quarantine. I mean, it was insane. It was like a prison. If you got COVID, it was like a death sentence. Like they just stuck you away. Anybody that's went through basic knows exactly what I'm talking about during COVID. They like, if somebody got COVID and you were in your bay, let's say like reception, they would put you in like solitary, and then whoever was around you would also go. So every now and then they'd come in and they'd take COVID tests, and you're just like praying because you know it's going to extend how long you're going to be there, and you're doing nothing while you're in confinement. I never had to do that, but it did add a little bit of time going through reception just because they constantly were like, there was constant change because of COVID.
Dude, my OSIT was like 16 weeks. It was like 4 months.
Yeah.
It is wild. Fuck that.
I think they didn't really add much. I'm pretty sure, at least from what I was hearing from people that went through before, there's just a lot more downtime and recovery.
That's so stupid.
Which is like a waste of money, obviously. Because if you have that extra time, there should be more training, but maybe they fixed it. Maybe they added more, but from what I heard from the drill sergeants, they were just talking about how it was a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, it was, because I had a lot of downtime in the last like 2 weeks. We didn't do fucking anything.
Yeah, they didn't add much at all. But COVID really threw a nut in everything. I mean, there was no family day. Like for OSIT total, it wasn't like you had basic training and then infantry training. Because of COVID, there was no break. It was just, okay, we're going through basic now, but here's a machine gun. And there was like a graduation ceremony, no blues or anything, just handed you a piece of paper and you started training the next day.
Yeah, that was probably the same.
Was it the same?
Yeah, you woke up and then it was just not basic anymore,
Yeah.
but it was the same. Like you're still getting
Yeah.
smoked, so you're like, didn't change.
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
when we graduated basic, they were like, "Congrats, you're a pogue now. Like, go do this." Yeah. So I didn't know if, yeah, I guess I didn't know if that was different, but it just felt different, I guess, because we weren't allowed contact with the outside world. So there was no ceremonies. Even in infantry training, there wasn't really a ceremony.
That kind of sucks. I mean, the ceremony was stupid too, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like we went out on the parade field, but there was like, I guess there's usually like a show, but for us,
yeah,
it was a live stream. And it was like, I don't know, it just felt like, what are we doing right
that's
now?
dumb. Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Did you
We
guys
had
do
like our,
bayonet still? Did you still like? Did they still do that?
we were the first cycle that didn't do that. And we were
That's
also
fucked
transitioning to the Greens at the time. So we didn't wear a uniform. We were in like our OCPs.
for the like end of the OSIT cycle.
Yeah. We were in our OCPs with our berets on.
Dude, we had like the tropics, like the short sleeve, like one little fucking ribbon.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that was a good part is yeah. So yeah, that was kind of strange. It was weird going through training and it was I talked with some people that went through about the same time. I know Tierney did and it's pretty interesting because there were so many regulations with like wearing a mask and whatnot, but none of it
Mhm.
ever made any sense cuz the second you do anything, you're taking the mask off.
Yeah, yeah. You like
So
you eat with the mask off like 4 feet from somebody, and then like you put the mask back on. You're like,
it
what are we
was
doing
all
here?
politics, you know.
Yeah, dude, I was in Afghanistan for COVID, and like first of all, you didn't know what the fuck was going on, and then second, like there was no masks, so they just went onto the into the country and just bought shamags from fucking everywhere, like all the
Yeah.
villages and shit, and they brought them back to the base, and like everyone had to wear shamags over their face, and the defac and
That's
shit.
actually hilarious.
It was
Like that's your
so
biggest
stupid.
concern in
Yeah, it was so
Afghanistan.
stupid. It was, and the Afghanis are like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? Like, why are you guys all wearing masks now?" Or like, don't they didn't know about COVID.
And you
Nobody
can't
got
even
sick.
explain that rationally, like,
Yeah,
because it makes no
yeah.
sense.
There's a sickness. We're wearing masks. They're like, "What sickness?" I'm like, all right, sweet.
We're scared of getting sick, you know?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, man.
That's funny. Yeah, you were in Afghanistan as a contractor at that time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I heard that in one of the podcasts. That's
yeah.
it's gotta be pretty
I think you
interesting. Though.
came to the unit right. I was coming back. Pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like the same time. There was like a big, I think there was a big change in Bravo at that time actually, because a lot of people coming in, a lot of people coming out. Change of
Oh, dude,
command to
I came back from that because I've been in since 2012, and I've always been a Bravo company. And when I came back from Afghanistan, dude, I didn't know fucking anybody. There was like five, like Dave, First Sergeant, the commander, Bloom. That's like it. There was like one or two
yeah.
more, but everyone else was gone, dude.
Was that before Captain McCoy?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I came in and he was me and him had the same first drill.
the one where
Which
they got crushed by a tree.
yeah, well, I guess I had a drill before I had the MRE before that. But yeah, that was my first drill, like actual drill, which was, I mean, welcome to the unit sort of thing, which was, that was crazy. I was on, I'm sure most people watching this are probably familiar, but we were out in the field for that drill and it was pouring down rain, wind, and we decided to put a patrol base right around this big dead tree. And I remember looking up, E2 was my team leader, and I looked up and there was like this massive branch hanging above right where I was about to pitch my tent. And I was like, man, imagine if that fell on me. And I remember that specifically. And I had or I had a guard in the middle of the night at the time that the tree fell. I just happened to be the one that they chose. And I didn't have a tent because I was new. So I just had like the tarp, and you know how bad that was. Like I
Yeah,
was soaked. So I was just sitting in there, just essentially staying awake, waiting to wake the next person up and I hear like a creak and I'm like, what the hell? And I turn around and I just see it falling down and I'm just like, there's nothing I can do about this as I just watch
what
it.
you could do? Catch it?
Yeah. Well, I don't like, I guess when shit like that happens, cause that's happened a few times in my life, where just crazy shit happens and you're like, you expect like a reaction to happen, but there's no rational way for an action to actually happen except for just what's going to happen. So, but it was crazy because it like fell right on the line. And somebody was actually like,
Yeah,
I think it was Papke, was like they bedded down on the tree.
yeah,
And when it came down, it like uprooted and it created like a protective dome right where he was at, which is just insane. But yeah, thankfully no one died in that. Some serious injuries, but really that was just a wild night. But that was like a welcome to the army moment. First night in the field, tree falls on two people.
yeah. That was a nightmare, man. the mud and, like, trying to get the fire department back there and the ambulance and not being able to lift a tree, and they had to saw it up, and then, like, then we were trying to lift the pieces, and they were still too fucking heavy, dude, like, yeah, that was a
It's
nightmare.
insane how big the tree was. When I was telling that to people, like my family, I was like, "Yeah, a tree fell on someone," and they're like, "Oh yeah, like a tree, like a small, like no, like this thing was
No, dude, like,
huge."
100 dudes are in this fucking patrol base, and they couldn't lift it. Like,
Yeah,
the entire company was trying to lift this fucking tree, and we couldn't do it.
yeah. I remember
The
we
thing
got
was
everybody on
fucking
there, and
massive.
we tried to start, and then we heard like the he screamed, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay,
and we were like, "Alright, we're probably not qualified to make this decision. Let's probably get the
probably
paramedics here." Yeah,
better way to go about this." Yeah. So yeah, that was my welcome to the army moment. Came pretty quick. And then from there, I was searching for because you get a little bit of money saved up when you go through basic and OSIT. So I was kind of living off of that money, and I was looking for employment from that point on, and like kind of what I wanted out of myself. That wasn't an army goal. So I was living off of that, and I was looking at what civilian employment I wanted to do, and I ended up picking up job as a security guard, as a emergency room security guard in Saginaw, which if you know Saginaw, it's pretty crazy. So,
yeah.
I got pretty familiar there with dealing with emergency situations, like every day, somebody coming in who's shot or whatnot, and just getting familiar with seeing people that are dying. And I kind of got stuck in this mindset when I picked up my first civilian job outside of like high school, where that's my job that's paying all my bills and sustaining me. And I developed this mindset of I miss being on orders and being with people with a purpose and people that I know actually care about me and like what I do. Because when I was working in that corporate job, I was like, these people don't care at all about me. And that thought came to fruition when they did layoffs. And because they made room for security guards off of budget cuts during COVID. And then come around a year later, they decided the board that took the pay cuts to pay for the security guards, they decided they wanted their money back. So then they just got rid of those jobs. And I was just like on my ass. And I was like, damn, civilian world sucks. Which leads me to when I got on orders for the first time outside of training. And that was the same recruiter I had, who was my friend in high school. He got me on the honor guard orders. So, and I did that for 4 years, not straight. I had breaks for trainings and deployment and whatnot, but that's how I ended up getting in that, was just because civilian employment was brutal.
Is that, like, for like, do you get paid, like, ADOS for full-time orders for that? Or, like
Yeah. So it's an ADOS position. Almost entirely. Like the entire program is ADOS. So every year they do a budget and they say, okay, we can afford this many people on orders. And which is always stressful coming October because you're like, I hope I'm useful, Not that, but they cared about people, they cared about making sure that people were taken care of. But you're at the whim of however much money Big Army decides to give you, your
yeah.
program. So yeah, it's ADOS, which means they can work you however, but it's long tour orders. So it's year orders that I was on. So they can work you as much as they want. Like AGR, weekends off, 8 to 4, lunch break, holidays off. The honor guard, what I was working was however many funerals they got for you is however many you're doing. And there is a calendar, but I'd get my shift the day before. So I wouldn't really know what I'm working until the day before. And I just get a text message that's like, here's your funerals, go do them. So, and then those will range anywhere from one funeral to 8 or more, and just depending on what they need. So that those orders were nice. It was rewarding work. I really found, and I still think it is. I really found a sense of purpose working in the honor guard, and I'd recommend it to anybody. But it also takes a toll on you. It's like you're working 7 days a week with the occasional Sunday off, and all you're doing is funerals, or at least that's where I was at. There are office jobs that you work, but I was working exclusively funerals for 4 years, and you become pretty desensitized to it. But throughout that time, I did 1,076 funerals, and you get to the point where it's like the same thing every time. And I remember my first funeral. I guess I have a knack for like the worst shit on my first day.
Mhm.
But my first funeral was 36-year-old man who killed himself, and the flag recipient was his kid. And it was like, and I had to deliver the flag because I was the senior person at that funeral, which looking back is like, who planned that? Like, send, you know, That probably should have been an NCO.
Were you a specialist?
I was a PFC. Oh,
Jesus.
yeah, I was a PFC.
It's like
But
fucking two ribbons.
yeah, yeah, it was because they were still getting out the National Service Defense. So yeah,
Yeah.
2 ribbons. And yeah, no, so that was my first funeral, and that was like, I guess it was a good test of, is this for you? You know, and it was. So, and I stuck through that, and I loved every bit of it, you know, and it was rewarding. It kind of kept me, because at the time before then, I was at odds with how I felt about the guard, because it felt like I'm trying to do something on the civilian side, and then every now and then I get a text that's like, "Hey, come chill out in the woods with us, you know, for a weekend or whatever." And it's like I got to completely pretend like my civilian life doesn't exist, go do this thing, and then go back to working this, like, so I'm working like a double life. And I think a lot of people have that feeling, especially when they first join. But when I got on orders, it was like a complete shift in my mentality. It was like, this is what I do every day and I love it, you know, like being in uniform every day. But yeah, so I did that. I got on orders, and I did that all the way up until we started well, I guess we had JRTC, which would be the start of our train up or deployment. If any of that actually helped for deployment, maybe if we're going to Vietnam,
Yeah, heat cats, I don't know. Got used to being just hot as fuck all the time.
I used to be a miserable. Yeah. But yeah, that was the start to our train up. So before then, I guess before I got on orders, I had owed a debt to the Army because they were paying me as a PFC when I was a PV2 and basic. So my drill, that was another thing that went with why I didn't like going to drill. I wasn't getting paid, and I had no idea why. And it took me so long to get that resolved. But eventually I did. And then we went to JRTC. And then I realized, man, the Army really sucks at paying people, because when you cut orders and start new orders, every time your pay gets
Yep,
jacked up. So it happened again. So I've been in the Army for like 6 months now, and my pay's been jacked up twice. So when we got back from JRTC, I was like, I realized that I kind of had a personal duty to be my own best advocate, and that, an NCO is not always going to just know what's wrong with you, and you have to like make it known.
crazy.
Yeah, be on top of like yourself. And I guess that was my first time thinking that. But yeah, so then I was on orders that whole time until we got to Northern Strike the next year, I guess, would be the next time that we were really doing train up. And then you remember later that year the rumors started floating in on where we were going for deployment. And that's when we went to MRE that year, or SRP, and it said Syria on our paperwork. And then everybody was like, okay, confirmed. So found out then that we were going to Syria. And then the actual training cycle started up when we went to Northern Strike that year. And I got put in second platoon.
I don't even remember Northern Strike.
Were you in third at that time?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that crazy 240 range we did where we had to walk down that massive hill and then go walk across? And we had like,
I think I was oh, yeah, I was a
we had the
weasel.
combat
I
engineers with
remember.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that sucked.
Yeah. So that's that one. That was like our AT before leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was
Yeah, and
stupid
I
too.
guess that training cycle was probably the most developmental of my career, because I started getting in the habit of becoming like a professional and an expert like in at my job. And I started taking a lot of pride in like my duties. And then that Northern Strike, I really felt like I was starting to understand it, and I was getting confident on the ranges and everything with the unit. So I'll always remember that one. But then during that training, they put out a list of schools and said, who wants to go to one of these? We need to send so many people. And at that time, I was so hyped up to go do anything. I said, send me to whatever you can. So they signed me up for Stinger School. And that was like immediately following Northern Strike. Or sorry, that was before a Northern Strike that year. So I went to Stinger School and then went to Northern Strike. So it was the drill before that. And I said, sign me up. And then they sent me out to Stinger School. And that was out in Fort Sill for 5 weeks. And that was my first time going to an Army school that was separate from just regular training. Like, it was like the first one that was volunteer. You're kind of taking your own time to go do this, and it's outside of the regular duties of your unit. And I really enjoyed that. I liked learning something and developing a skill for the unit that I knew would come in handy when they needed it overseas. So, and that was a fun school. Lawton, Oklahoma is not very fun, but
Yeah,
the
I was about
school
to
was
say
fun.
Oklahoma doesn't.
No, if
Then
you've
again, I
never
don't
been,
see how. I don't see how fucking Stinger School could be 5 weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess the majority of it was, and this is going to sound silly when I say it because you saw what we did overseas, was aircraft recognition.
Mm.
So being able to tell, okay, that's this type of aircraft rather than this type of aircraft. And it's like, in what world am I going to be shooting off of that? Like, so that
Yeah.
was kind of
Even if you identify it, you're probably not gonna shoot it down. And they're not
right.
gonna let you.
Yeah. So the school was super long, but it was a lot of fun. It was a gentleman's course. It was an 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, weekends off, go, party. And but the information was super good. And it was my first time working in air defense, which proved to be super helpful going forward with the deployment because I was on like every air defense asset we had. So just kind of getting my feet in the water before we even started the mobilization process definitely helped. But yeah, then we went to Northern Strike, and that's where we kind of figured out, we picked up all those 126 cats and we kind of figured out, okay, these are the people I'm going to be with. And this is kind of how it's going to be structured and the leadership that's going on deployment. All the promotions were coming through.
And then it got reorged like 6 fucking times anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and then we
Got rid
get
of
to
weapon
Bliss and
squads. Jesus.
oh, yeah, it was a mess. Yeah, it was a mess. But that's when I got put on, they were like, "Hey, you're gonna be on this thing called MLIDS," and I was like, "What is that?" And they said, "We have no idea." So, okay, I'll figure it out, I guess. And then they kept us on orders, which was nice. Remember that when we came back to the armory and they were just like, "Hey, we're gonna keep you on so we don't have to do all this flip-flop shit."
And we couldn't, like, leave.
I lived in Saginaw.
I couldn't leave. I was like, "Dude, I did not have fun."
Yeah.
It was just
Well,
like me just in the armory, not accomplishing anything for, like, 2 fucking weeks.
yeah, we got everything done in, like, the first couple days.
Yeah.
It's like, "All right, come in and do something."
That
Okay.
was my other than not being paid for 2 months in Moab, that was, like, my biggest gripe about this deployment is, like, we went from, like, JRTC to Northern Strike to fucking Grayling to Custer to the Armory. Like, we didn't see home for, like, weeks before we left, and then, like, you got, like, 1 day with your families or whatever, and then you, like, deployed. Like, I was like, "Why did we do that?" There's
Yeah.
usually, like, a break, you know?
Yeah, for you, for sure. I could see, like, how you dealt with that before, so you had an expectation.
Yeah, I also lived 5 hours away, so that was part of it.
Yeah, I could literally just drive home right now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, but I guess without any expectation, it was just like, this is how deployment works. So there's nothing to compare it to. But yeah, then we went to Moab, and like you said, we reorged 100 times since then. And we get down to Bliss, and that's where I find out what the MLIDs are, which are for people who don't know, they're the two trucks, and they're both air defense, and one of them has a fire control radar. Ton of different equipment on it. You can look it up. It's all public. But a lot of different equipment on it for drone defense and air defense in general. And that's when we started up our training there. So I wasn't entirely disconnected from the infantry duties, but I had to go knock out this training to do so that when they gave us the systems overseas, we actually knew what we were doing. So I got
You guys
sent
were gone
over.
for a minute. You guys I feel like it was,
Yeah.
like, what? Was it, like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that?
Yeah. It was like 2, 3 weeks because the unit was on Donna Ana and then they sent us out to McGregor proper.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there just going to a classroom and working on the trucks that we were going to be using overseas. And all of that training, man, that was a lot. That one should have been the one that was 5 weeks because there was a lot that went into those trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of like we knew what we were doing, but we didn't realize entirely that hey, when we get in Syria, we got nobody to rely on. Like this is it, and you're gonna get your trucks, and you better have a pretty damn good grasp of what you're doing. So, but yeah, so once we were done with that training, they sent us back to Donna Ana, and from there we were just crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting ready to go. So, and that's when Shermer got promoted too, among a few others at that time.
Yeah, that's right. He got frocked for a while, though, I think. He was, like, rocked 7. He was missing something, he had to come back. Oh, yeah, that's right. He went to MSlick with me, so he got frocked, and then he came back from the deployment and had to go to MSlick. That's right.
Yeah. So then once all of his stuff got in order, they finally were able to promote him over there in Donna Ana, of all places. Yeah, and then we hopped on the plane and we were rowdy. And that's all she wrote.
And you did MLids the entire deployment.
Everything else is a blur. Yeah, no, that was a mess. Because then when we landed in Syria, which I guess we just skipped a lot, but when we finally landed in Syria, we were on the first chalk. So we were the first people there, and we there were complications with getting the rest of the people there. So all of the base defense fell on like the short group that made it there first. But we were up
Yeah, I was there. I was there for
yeah,
that.
you were there. Yeah, we were up like 12 hours and nothing made sense when we got there. Like the unit we replaced, not saying names, what they were doing with the ambulance trucks, they
It was
wasn't
10th Mountain. They fucking sucked. I'll say it. They were fucking terrible, dude.
the trucks weren't operational. So the screen didn't work. It was just a black screen. And I had a banana mic. And the rules were when I was in the armored truck, I had to be in full kit, helmet, and I had to have the banana mic up to my head, staring at a black screen. Like there's nothing I could see. And it was just pitch black. And I just sat there like this inside of the truck, just waiting to do my radio calls. And it was
Wait,
12 hours
did
every day.
did you have to do like tower guard and shit? Or you're just
That was my
strictly
tower guard.
oh, okay.
But it was
Yeah.
worse because you're stuck in a truck like this, just
We
cramped in
had
the back
a
of a.
oh god, because I was on the first truck too, and I was the only senior NCO on the ground with I don't even know if Dave was there. I think he got stuck somewhere. And
Mhm.
then there was like half like 4 dudes from 1st platoon, like part of 2nd platoon, and like 6 dudes from 3rd platoon. It was like
Yeah.
wild. So like whenever we had to like and half of the fucking RIP company that we were relieving left when we got there. So like we had to make up for everything. So like we had when we had patrols, like we had like this mishmash of fucking everybody on these trucks to go pick people up. Earlier you said we had like there were complications, and one, it was flights. The Air Force and the Army couldn't get their shit together with manning flights, and they were taking priority to like Iraq and Jordan and not doing rotator flights through Syria. And then they were taking equipment instead of personnel. So like when flights did finally come, it was like a random fucking Thursday, like 4 hours before the flight was supposed to take off. They're like, "Hey, you guys got to rip down to Green Village and get ready for this fucking flight to come in." By the way, Green Village doesn't have a flight line. They have to like bulldoze dirt
Yeah.
flight lines every time they want to land something there, and it's not made for aircraft. Like it's a fucking nightmare every time. So we do that. We did that for like 3, 4 fucking weeks, dude. We were there like a month by ourselves.
Were
And
you on the C5 that landed there?
no, I was on a C-17
Okay.
when I was there wasn't very many people on that plane, but we were still on like the fucking tuna can seats, and like you had your fucking pack on your chest. And I remember Martin was sitting to my left, and I've done combat landings in like Afghanistan, Iraq, and I'm like not a fan. And then we had some
Mhm.
problems in one in Dubai. And so we were landing, and like as we were landing, they were like, "By the way, there's no runway." And I was like, "What the fuck do you mean there's no runway?" They're like, "Oh, well, this is Green Village. We have to land here because we can't use any other runway, but there's no runway. It's a dirt path." I was like, "Oh." So I started thinking about it, and then they're like, "Well, how much space do you need to land a C-17 on dirt?" And they're like, "Oh, well, 1,130 feet." And I was like, "How long is the runway?" They're like, "It's just under that." I'm like, "What do you mean just under?"
Doing math? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, we kept talking about this. I looked at Martin. I was like, "Hey, man, if we're going down, I'm getting a pistol kill before we die."
Yeah,
And
sorry,
you're
I didn't mean
sitting,
C5. I meant C-17, that big ass plane.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like, dude, Martin was like terrified I was going to shoot him if we like started crashing.
Yeah, so you on that turnaround with the C-130?
Oh, yeah. You woke up, you went to sleep in Kuwait, and then 6 hours later woke up in Kuwait.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. That was crazy.
I took like 4 Unisom to go get ready for like an 8-hour flight, and then I wake up 6 hours later and we're landing in Kuwait. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
I was so pissed. I was livid
Yeah, I
because
was
that
there.
was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know because I was so fucked up on Unisom. I was like, I get off the airplane, I'm like, "How the fuck are we in Kuwait? We just flew for 6 hours."
I was wondering how you slept because, man, on that flight, I was like waiting to land, just doing circles. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And then they're like, all right, we're heading back. I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, then they hopped on a C-17. And did you know it was the first C-17 to land there?
Yeah, that's why I was pissed. And they didn't have enough runway to do it. I was like, "Who thinks this is a good idea?"
And then we got absolutely dusted when it took off.
Yeah, dude. And then I don't know, like 3 times a week, we would drive out to Green Village and they'd try to fly the rest of our chalks in, and it would just get canceled and canceled. But it never got canceled on the route to Green Village. It got canceled like 2 to 3 days into us being at Green Village. So like we'd be sitting there on standby, no food, no money, no fucking anything. They don't have barracks at Green Village. So we're like, and I don't know if anyone doesn't know this. It gets fucking cold in Syria. It is fucking freezing in
Freezing.
Syria.
Fucking
And we're sitting in
freezing.
the fucking tents with no heat, just like full kit. I'm on the top bunk. Giles is underneath me. My bed breaks. I fall onto Giles. Giles' bed breaks. He falls. So like everyone turns and I'm like, fuck it. So we go back to the trucks. So we sit in trucks for 2 fucking days, stranded at Green Village. God, it was such a nightmare. I fucking hate that place.
That first month or two is so miserable because of how cold it was on towers and whatnot. I forgot you guys were there. When we landed on the C-17, all the air defense guys, we were on the Bradleys. So they threw us in Bradleys and then we took
Yeah,
off.
that's right.
So we were in Conoco like that. And then it was like, all right, have fun on your shift,
Yeah. I
But
I was in
man,
the they made me a lead or not the lead truck TC. They made me like the second truck TC. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, we don't have NCOs to TC, so, we'll give you a gunner and a driver from 10th Mountain, and then you'll be the TC." And I was like, "I don't know where the fuck we're going. It's midnight. It's pitch black in Syria, and I have no idea where we're going." They're like, "Oh, it'll be fine." It's like, "This is fucked, dude."
it'll be fine.
Yeah, this
Famous
fucked
last
me.
words. Speaking of the cold, have you ever seen that dude in marshmallows at Conoco? I went in the talk one time and someone was walking in there in marshmallows. And I was like, smart for him, but who the fuck brought marshmallows to
Yeah,
Syria?
I didn't bring those. I didn't think it'd get that cold, but it did.
Yeah.
Must be
No,
pretty
no.
fucking cold.
That rooftop with the air defense position up there, for some reason, there was a great decision that that thing needs to be manned at nighttime. And I was up there with Baron and I remember, and Rut. Rut went up there too with me, and he didn't even know how to shoot the thing. So I don't know what he was like, why they sent him,
He
but it
just
was
wants to be a part of it.
miserable because there was no like in the towers. You have some wind resistance. That rooftop, man, it's like a fucking wind tunnel. And I remember I had like all I had was like wet weather gear. So I just had like wet
Yeah.
weather gear and like a poncho, and I was just like dying up on this rooftop for hours. Yeah,
And then
it was brutal.
someone had the great idea to bring heaters into some of the towers and hook them up to the generators that run the crows and then to set the crows on fire.
I have a funny
Fucking idiots, dude.
I have a picture. It's funny how homeless the army looks sometimes. I got a picture of like a couple buddies on towers that had like made a fire out inside of an ammo can. It looked like Skid Row or something. But yeah, I didn't realize it got that cold there. And it rained a lot.
Yeah, it did rain a lot. There's a
Flooded
lot
that
of
bitch.
desert for a place that rains so much, man.
Like put some more fucking rocks down.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. It's like,
Yeah.
why can't you just use the water? And then we like crash into a fucking 6-foot water trench. Stupid as fuck.
Classic. But yeah, so when we first got to Conoco, that was like it. That was like the main mission. And that's why it took so long to get to the platoons because we were on like our separate element of MLIDs. And the main mission was getting these trucks functional so that we can drive them because all 10th Mountain was doing was parking them. Like these are like the first word in that acronym is mobile. And they just park them, hook them up to the TOC radar and said, it's much easier for us to just sit here and just use them stationary. And it's like, do you guys understand how trucks work? Like, if that was the goal of these things, they would be on cinder blocks. So we had to do a lot of work. We had to order a lot of parts and do a lot of labor to get those trucks actually functional, like get the screen working, for example. And then, we weren't able to get them to the platoon until they were functional. So it took quite a bit, like a few months, but I was just excited to be able to go do my job. So that part really sucked. I mean, yeah, obviously it was important skill and it was super imperative to have on the base because drones were like our biggest threat. But it's in the same token, it felt like I enlisted to be an infantryman and I am sitting inside of a truck staring at a radar. And it was like, this sucks.
They tried to get me, man, before they got Beaudry. They're like, "Hey, man, we need like a senior dude to be the battle captain sergeant person." And I was like, "Get fucked. Get fucked. Not doing that. I will
Dodge
fucking
that
break my
one.
leg and not deploy." Yeah,
No
poor Beaudry,
kidding.
man. Poor Beaudry, dude.
Yeah. Love Beaudry, man. He was a saving grace on that deployment. I'll never forget when we took rockets on in March. I was on the Stinger radio because the night before that, were you notified the night before that? They push anything down to you?
Uh, we were in full kit.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, we knew we were gonna get hit. I remember that.
I was talking to a
You talking
couple
about the
guys.
Ramadan Bombathon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole, like, 2 or 3 weeks, yeah. Yeah,
I
we
was
knew we
talking
were
to a
gonna get
couple
hit.
guys and they were like, I had no idea. It's like, what are you talking about? You had no idea.
Bitch, you're sleeping in full kit. What do you think?
But for us on the air defense part of things, you know how the intel always comes down, you're going to die. And they always give you the worst
Yeah.
possibles. They're like, there are 13 drones coming our way tonight. And we got like 3 missiles, you know? It's like, all right, I guess I'll take out as many as I can, you know? So at that point, before the rockets happened, I was up for like, I remember like we watched Hunger Games and we were like, this is gonna be our last movie. And I bought I had never smoked or vaped before. And I had bought one of those shitty vapes from the fucking store. And I was like, well, tonight's the night, you know? And I had been up before the rockets actually impacted for like 30 hours or something because I went to one air defense asset and then they were like, okay, we replace you. Go to the next one. So then I'd go to the next one. And when we were actually getting ready to like close down shop for the night and I was on the Stinger radio just doing my shift, when the rockets came, they were visibly observed and they were observed on the radar, but the incoming alarm never went off. So
Yeah, that was sick. That was like one of the coolest things I've ever experienced.
yeah. Now for me, it came over on the radio. It was like net call incoming. And I was like, okay, so this is it. Like this is big. Whatever's coming after in like the next few seconds is big. And we had no idea what it was. So I ran in and I went to go wake everyone up. And you know how in like high stress situations, how there's always a period of like your brain's moving so fast that you expect things to happen fast. Like I was talking about the tree, like you expect action. I remember opening up the door and I was like, incoming, incoming, incoming. And I guess I just expected everybody at 2 a.m. to just be awake and ready to go. And nothing happened. And it just felt like eternity. I was just staring like, is nobody listening, you know? And then finally you start hearing the impacts coming in. And then I remember I swung open Beaudry's door. And as I opened his door, that one that landed in the one that landed in FA land,
The
like that
CPI one, yeah, that one that hit
that
all the CPI.
shook the whole ground. And Beaudry like flew out of his bed, like he was like, holy shit, you know. And I'll never forget that. That was fucking hilarious.
The fastest you've ever seen him move.
Yeah, yeah, he was up and at it after that one. Yeah.
Dude,
You
it
get
ruined my we were watching that Lord of the Rings series, and the commander used to come watch the series with us, and I think he had just left and we were watching like the next episode and he was back in the talk for the night shift. And it was me and Dave sitting on the couch and I had the radio on, the talk net next to me, and I was like kind of like full kit, kind of dozing, helmets on my chest, watching. And then the radio just goes, incoming, get down. And I was like, what? And then it's like, boom, 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 boom. And I was like, what the fuck? So me and Dave are like on the ground and we like crawled out the door and I was like screaming, like, cause you know, where we lived, there was like the one hard house and then to the left and right was our tents. So I'm like screaming at like my tent. I was like, get the fuck down. Like, and then they start running out the door. I was like, no, get the fuck down. Like, they're like, trying to run out the door. I was like, no, get out, get out. And
yeah.
yeah, and then I'm trying to get a hold of that one kid that got hit because I have a video of him and I want to get it to him. I don't know if he wants to see it, but I have the video of him.
Fucking if I was him, I would. That's badass.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, man, that was that's crazy. I didn't know you even had a video of that.
I had a helmet cam on, and yeah, I have the whole. I have from me exiting the hard house in the bunker, and then you start hearing someone like screaming medic. So then, like, you see me fighting with the medic who didn't do his fucking job, and I was so fucking mad at him, dude. I was ready to beat the shit out of him. He didn't have his aid bag either,
Mhm.
so I went into the tent, grabbed his aid bag, brought it back to him, grabbed him by like the fucking kit, and I like dragged him over to the casualty. And Sheehan was working on him already in the bunker. You
What
remember
did she
Sheehan?
end up getting for that? I heard an AAM.
Yeah, I think he got an AM
What the fuck?
for the whole deployment. That was his end of tour award was an AM. Yeah, it was pretty fucked.
That actually blows my fucking mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do remember Sheehan. He's awesome.
yeah, he's a good dude. I got to reach out to him. I know he messages me every once in a while. They had a bunch of dudes get Purple Hearts for that whole thing. A bunch of them.
Yeah, well, it's good. I mean, yeah, I remember because from there, I remember I ran in the bunker and I had somebody had a pen, a red light pen, and I stuck it in my mouth and I was like writing notes like on the radio, like whatever I was like scribing for Hozak was in there with the radio and they called up, you know, they were, I think they were the first one to call up and they were like, we have a casualty urgent. And I was like, oh shit, like that's one of many. It was my thought, you know, like where there's
Oh
one,
yeah,
there's more. And I was like, shit just got real. And that was the first time that I was like, you know, we take rockets, but that was the first time where I was like, you know, we also take casualties.
yeah, but
So
nobody has seen cluster bombs before.
which we didn't at the time. We had like we had no idea what any of that was. Like we just thought rockets, you know, or
Yeah,
at least from my point of view, I was like big ass rockets. Well, then I was like, okay. Once I finished scribing, I was like, I got to get on the rooftop for drones. So I ran up to the stinger position, and I sat up there for a while, and I started finding shrapnel on the rooftop that I just got off of like 30 minutes before. And I was like, this is kind of crazy because you'd think there'd be a rocket up here. And I remember I looked off because Shermer started, they had those parties out going and looking for casualties and other rockets and everything.
Yeah.
And I looked off out that outdoor gym and it was shredded. And I was like, how the fuck does that happen? You know? And it turns out it
Yeah.
was a cluster bombs. But we were so confused. We were like, that
Yeah,
didn't
well,
look like that.
nobody knew. No one's seen it before. So when we found that curved radar one, the rocket body was stuck next to the curved radar, like sitting out of the fucking ground. Like we
Yeah.
drove up and I like looked at it, I was like, that's a fucking rocket. So we called EOD thinking it was a rocket, like they hadn't gone off. So EOD comes out and they just hook up a tow strap to it and rip it out of the ground. They're like, yeah, we don't think it's a rocket. It's like a body of some kind. I was like, okay, I guess.
I
What do you
remember
fucking
because,
do?
yeah, at that point, First Sergeant actually picked me up from the stinger spot and he drove me over to the Emlitz vehicle that watched the rockets come out from the launch point. And they were like, they must have had an oh fuck moment of like, all right, hopefully it's not me, you know, of just watching them shoot off.
Yeah,
But they watched it, they like land at the kerf radar, like where they were at on the wall was pointing right at the kerf radar. And
yeah.
so he moved me over to that truck and I was on there on the radio again. And I just hear EOD go, we're going to need a shovel. I was like, a fucking shovel is so funny. I don't know. Like just the thought of let me go dig this thing up with a shovel.
Yeah, well, when they said they can't get it out, they're gonna use a tow. I was like, "You're fucking high." And then I was like, "Hold on, let me tell the bunker right there that you're gonna do this." So like we called up to the guys in that guard tower. We're like, "Hey man, get small just in case." And they just
Yeah.
hooked up a fucking winch to it and winched it out.
So crazy. Yeah, that was a wild night. Yeah. But that wasn't even the first time we took them. When we took those ones on January, the small one, the 60, I think it
Yeah,
was,
I think the first one was January. Yeah, end of January maybe.
something like that. February? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in trouble. I was peeling potatoes in the fucking DFAC.
I remember, I'm not going to say names, but I remember we got the order to go to the bunker and like we went to go run outside and the person in front of me just stopped in the doorway. Like they ran full sprint and then just stopped. And like there were like 8 people behind us. And I was like, I like threw them out. I was like, "You're gonna fucking move," you know. Like but that was our first time like ever actually dealing with that, you know. And there wasn't like obviously we did our run throughs and everything, but there wasn't like a like you said where people were just running outside. Like
Because they were trained to get to the bunker, but they never think like, hey, maybe just like get down first. Like they never
right,
think about it.
yeah,
Like they're all like, we have to get to the bunker as fast as possible. So everyone just sprints.
right. And that was the thought. And I feel like that wasn't reiterated correctly because that was my thought too. Like, what are we waiting for? Fucking go get to this goddamn bunker. But yeah, you think about it logically, it's like that's the worst idea.
Yeah. Now you have like 80 people out in the open, like running from cover to cover.
Yeah. You were in the market for the Easter one, right?
Was that Easter?
It was around Easter. It was like Easter week. It
The
was
one
because
where
of Easter.
literally everyone important was in the market at the same time.
Yeah.
Like every senior NCO, most of the squad leaders, half the command team, and then like
A bunch of random
almost
officers. I
yeah.
don't know who they were.
And I don't think an alarm went off for that one either.
It
Because
did. It did. It was
did
just
it?
so loud in there. You remember? Yeah. It
Oh
was like,
yeah.
and we were like, I remember everybody was looking around. They were like, man, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, what is that noise in the background? Because you have the market music, you got all the people eating, and you're like kind of like trying to filter it through your head. And like me and Bloom realized it at the same time. We like locked eyes, and you just hear like in the background incoming, and I was like, "Get the fuck down!" And the whole market just hits the fucking ground, flips tables. People are like all over the ground. Yeah,
I
that
remember
was funny.
I was with Campbell and I was like, we got underneath the table. It's funny the things you do and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, get underneath the table, you know. But I was putting my kit on and Campbell was laying there and I was like, hey, put your kit on. Like, you know,
Yeah,
we're taking rackets. And then like at that same time, I remember you yelling something like, if you're not in the infantry, get the
yeah.
fuck out of the way or something like that,
Yeah.
you know.
I was like, hey, when we move, if you're not infantry, get the fuck out of the way. The rest of you wait and then go to the bunker. Because I knew as soon as they were like, let's move, all the infantry guys who have to be on the wall time now are going to be stuck behind all these other people that are only trying to get to a bunker. So I was like,
And what
if you're
was
going
the
to
first thing
fucking,
that happened?
yeah, all the fucking random pokes stood up and just stood in the fucking doorway, dude. I started throwing bitches. Like, I just grabbed people by the shoulder, I was just ripping them out of the way. It's like, fucking move.
Oh, shit was hilarious. I
I was
remember
so mad.
we still make that joke when you heard it whistle over the market, the
Yeah.
mortar. So the mortar round whistled over the market and then impacted over by Smith and them. And I remember like it was dead quiet, and then you just hear Onaman go, "That one sounded like a one way," and like me and Campbell just started laughing at each other, and we were like, "In what sense did that one sound like a one way? Like that was the most mortar sounding mortar, you know?" And
Yeah, well, do the
it's
one ways whistle now? Are they
yeah,
whistling?
yeah. So it's funny when you can just
That is a crazy noise to, like, remember, like, I can't even make it, like, that fucking mortar fin that you hear, like, when it goes over your head, like, that noise is so fucking weird.
yeah. It's weird how shit like that's just implanted in your brain. It's like I could like you hear it today, you know exactly
Yeah,
what
I
it
can
is,
hear it,
but
yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't reiterate it.
Right. But yeah, that one was funny. I remember me and Campbell, we ran to the nearest bunker and they were like, I don't know who they were, but it was like majors and lieutenant colonels and stuff. And I ran in there and I was like, "Hey, does anyone have a radio?" And then they all just like, you ever see that gif of like all the ants that are just staring? Like
Yeah, from
that's the reaction I got. And I was like, "None of you have a fucking radio." And then no one said anything. And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not waiting here, you know." So then me and Campbell fucking booked it across Conoco so we could go get accountability and do our job. It's fucking hilarious. I was like, how do we have so much rank in one spot without one radio?
It was so stupid. Like, I think we had more rank in the 2 to 3 weeks that we were getting hit every day than the entire time we were there the rest of the time. I was like, "Why do you keep sending people to fucking Conoco when we're getting hit every day?" Like, that is so stupid. Now you just have all these people who are in the way, the bunkers are overcrowded, we can't build enough bunkers in enough time, like and we just have random fucking majors, captains, commanders of random fucking task forces bopping around. Now we're accountable for you? Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude. I was so fucking pissed. And I had to drive like the task force OIR commander around and I didn't know how to drive a stick, so I look like a fucking idiot. Just like trying to fucking drive, dude. So
Just
pissed.
destroying that motherfucker.
Yeah, dude.
Grinding
I got
gears.
I stalled out going up the hill on like tower whatever fucking 5 where the firing range is, and I like stalled out
Mhm.
and I just stuck there. I was like, now what? How do I fucking get out of this?
Those things were destroyed at like 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, yeah, it wasn't all my fault, but yeah, it was bad.
no. Well, um, yeah, that was crazy. I think I remember talking to you about that in the market one time. I was like, "You ever notice like the barber conveniently goes on vacation?"
Yeah, all the time.
He's like,
Yeah.
"I will be gone from this time to this time." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna take my kit with me to the shower."
That man had more vacation time than anyone else I've had my entire life. Like,
Yeah,
what fucking program are you on, man? Like, and where
no
are you going
shit.
on vacation in southern Syria, brother?
I remember asking one of them, like, I went into the market after hours one time, and like Lieutenant Dressai was playing FIFA with them, with like the market workers, and this was like late in deployment. Like we were getting ready to leave in a couple weeks, and I was like, "I got to ask you guys one question: Where do you go on vacation?" And they were like, "We just go to northern Syria," and I was like, "Okay."
Where the Turks are? The people that are trying to kill you?
I guess over by RLZ area, but to me it doesn't make sense because we went there and it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like going from lower Michigan to upper Michigan. It's the same place. What I don't
Yeah.
understand what
More people are trying to kill you in the north.
yeah. Like I that doesn't seem like a good vacation, I'll be honest. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I remember laughing with a few people about that.
All right, well, we gotta wrap it up here. Do you wanna do any plugs?
Any plugs? No, I think I'm all set, man. Yeah, it was good talking to you. I appreciate you letting me hang in here. And I know you don't usually have any ordinary soldiers on. You usually have some pretty important people, you know, with businesses
Well,
and
I thought it'd be
whatnot. So
interesting because 'cause you're, like, the youngest person by far that we've ever had on here.
yeah,
Like,
and I thought
everyone
that's what I
else
was.
is, like, retired or special forces or ranger and fucking and we always talk about, like, wanting to bridge the generations. I was like, "Well, we might as well have young people on here too."
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I guess yeah, I guess to wrap up my story, yeah, we came home from deployment and I ended up staying on honor guard orders for a while, finished out my contract. I just extended for a year and I got off of orders and I'm starting my own business here. Oh, yeah, I guess I could plug that. I'm starting a security company. It's in the early stages. I just bought my LLC and everything, but I'm going to be figuring that out. So I'll keep you updated on that. But
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, you do anything cool, you let me know. I like side hustles.
for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to talk with some people too cuz I'm looking at it's gonna be like part-time hiring to start off, and I'll talk with you at that off camera. but yeah, it'll be like DoorDash, but for security. So yeah, but yeah, things are looking up, man. I'm excited to keep going, and it's cool to just talk about my first contract because pretty crazy in retrospect how fast things went by.
Oh, yeah. So you gonna do another 6 or what?
Well, I extended for a year, and we're gonna see because they have a deployment coming up.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see what that looks like, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it though. It's kind of hard because you set goals for yourself, and it's like my ultimate goal was going on that deployment when I started, and then I did a few schools, and came home, and it's like, now what? You know,
New goals, new
looking around.
deployments. Mine was to go
Yeah,
to every war zone in GWOT, and I did, finally.
hell yeah,
I mean, got some weird ones, but now that they're, like, fighting in Africa, and I'm like, "Fuck, now I think I gotta go to Africa." So, start a
yeah,
new one. Get a new
yeah,
goal.
perfect. Kenya, it looks like. Well, yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, keep in touch, let me know how the security thing goes. Everybody, like, share, comment, donate. We're trying to build a Bunker Bros app to keep everyone together. Alright,
Go to
see you
the
next time.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
end in, like, 12 hours now.
Okay.
Incoming, incoming, incoming.